Okay, Secretary Panetta, let's start with these new revelations or new claims by the president. Who do Americans look to be the adult who says, here's what's happening?
Well, what I see here is that this president is making the same mistake past presidents made when they face scandals, that he's trying to divert attention. They're trying to obfuscate. They're trying to cover up. They're trying to somehow raise other issues. And in the end, it's going to be the truth that will determine what's involved here, and not tweets, but the truth.
We had an instance where this week the Attorney General's had to recuse himself from investigations into campaign events. We've got now you've got investigative intelligence committees investigating. I mean, do you think people just need to wait for the intelligence committees in the House and Senate to do their work, or is there some better route, you think, to trying to get at what are now several sets of issues? There's the Russian meddling, and now the claims that the president has made, quite extraordinary claims. And maybe you can, given your experience, put them into some kind of context for the president to claim that his predecessor was wiretapping him and comparing him to Nixon and McCarthy.
The best advice I could give the president and this administration is to get ahead of this. Don't get behind it. Get ahead of it. Present the facts as they know it, and commit themselves to cooperating with the investigations that are going on. This issue is not going away. It's not going away. There's too much here. We found the Russians to have tried to interfere in our election process. We have a situation now where the administration has denied contacts with the Russians, and we're finding out that that's not true, that there have been contacts with the Russians. And lastly, the president himself has raised this issue. His whole national security team has condemned the Russians and Putin, and he still winds up defending Putin. So you put all of that together, it may not lead you to some kind of collaboration or collusion, but it raises issues that have to be investigated. That's why you need a bipartisan, an independent, a thorough, and a credible investigation.
When you say independent, but that can still be within the Congress.
Yeah, no, I think as you've seen, these are responsible members of Congress who want to look into this issue. I think they deserve the opportunity to do that. I hope they don't run into problems, because if they do run into political problems in the course of this investigation, then we may very well have to turn to a special prosecutor.
What do you think other countries think about when they look at this? Does this have you've got the president accusing his predecessor, you've got investigations into the president. How does that affect our standing as other countries look at America?
It's sending a terrible message out there. I can tell you, based on my own conversations with people abroad, that they're very concerned about the administration, about the president. They're concerned about whether he truly is going to be committed to the kind of world leadership that we've seen the United States provide. But every time these things happen, every time he tweets, every time these issues come up that indicate that there's obviously something to this Russian issue, and the administration is not cooperating. When that happens, when he accuses a past president of wiretapping without any evidence of that being the case, it makes us vulnerable. It weakens the United States, and it makes us vulnerable to our enemies. That's the danger.
Speaking of enemies of the United States, North Korea, the New York Times has a piece today about U.S. efforts using cyber warfare to basically hurt the North Korean missile system. Should Americans be in fear of a cyber retaliation by the North Koreans?
I've always felt that cyber is it's here to stay. It's one of the weapons that we have to deal with, and we have to be smart enough to use it not only defensively, but offensively as well. And I think the stories you're seeing indicate that the United States is on the cutting edge of that kind of technology.
President Trump is most concerned about North Korea. Does he have it right in terms of all the global threats? He seems to be most concerned about North Korea. Do you share that concern?
Well, there are a number of threats that are out there, that we're dealing with a very dangerous world. I think the Pentagon feels that Russia is at the top of the list because of the nuclear threat, and I understand that. But we also have to worry about North Korea and the unpredictability of that leader. We have to worry about the Middle East and the chaos there. There are a number of crisis points that the United States has to consider. And the problem is when we're diverted, when the president is diverted from paying attention to those crises, we pay a price.
All right. Stay right there, Secretary. We'll be right back. We're going to take a short break, but we'll be back in a moment. And we're back with Leon Panetta. President Trump has suggested that he wants $54 billion in defense spending next year. What does the Defense Department need? Is that a good idea, and what would they spend it on?
You know, the worst thing that they could do is to go through a roller coaster ride on defense spending, where we're down, increase it dramatically, the next year take it back down. We've gone through this sequester process, which has literally impacted on our readiness. So yes, we need an increase to try to deal with the readiness issue. But what we really need is a gradual increase and certainty in the budget. And if you're not providing certainty as to where the defense budget is going, you can talk about increasing it all you want. You're going to create chaos in terms of the Defense Department.
And how do you mentioned the sequester, that was that draconian budget cuts as a result of not reaching budget agreements. How do you get that certainty in budgeting for the Defense Department or anywhere else for that matter?
Well, John, what has to happen in this town, and it hasn't happened for a long time, is that the President and the Congress have to come to a budget agreement that really deals with this $20 trillion debt that we face. And the problem now is that they're all trying to do this by going after discretionary spending, which only constitutes a small part of the overall budget. What you've got to do is put everything on the table. You've got to put entitlements, you have to put taxes, and you have to put discretionary. That's what we did in the past. That's how we got a balanced budget. We're not going to be able to deal with the budget unless there's that kind of agreement. And that's essential, not only for purposes of the budget, but for the American people to understand what our priorities are for the future.
The president said he won't touch Medicare.
Well, I think it's dangerous. Anytime you put something off, off the table, you're just asking for trouble. Entitlements make up 2/3 of the federal budget, for goodness sakes. You're not going to look at how you can develop cost controls on those programs. You'll never be able to deal with the budget crisis if you just eliminate that whole area.
You were brought into the White House as chief of staff during a rocky period in the Clinton years. What do you make of the current White House operation as you viewed it?
Well, I worry about it because when the president goes off and does what he did within the last few days of just going ahead and tweeting without checking on things, there's something wrong. There's something wrong in terms of the discipline within the White House and how you operate. I mean, you cannot have this kind of situation where the president is not properly briefed, that you think out what the president's going to say, and that you have somebody in charge of the White House staff. That, I think, still hasn't taken place, and I think the White House is paying a price for that failure.
All right, Secretary Panetta, thanks so much, and we'll be right back. Stay with us.
This portion of Face the Nation is sponsored by Charles Schwab. Own your tomorrow.